To Knicks Chicks family, good morning. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, and I'm joined by my co-host today.
Diva 21. Good morning, fam.
Yeah, it's a good morning. The Knicks demolished Chicago at home, beat them by what 40 points, 96 to 136. The Knicks got their 50th win of the season. This is their third, I believe this is their third time and their
Yeah,
franchise history that they've hit 50 wins. So congratulations to the Knicks. Um, listen, I thought that this was a win that the Knicks should have won. I don't think you should be losing to a team that can barely win a game and been struggling. And this is what we want to see from the Knicks, quite honestly, is for them to take care of business, especially at home. But even if whether it's at home or on the road, beating a team that you should be beating. Stat wise, Josh Hart played 28 minutes. He finished with 7 points. He had 11 boards, 4 assists. OG Ananobi had a monster game, played 30 minutes respectively, as he should have, had 31 points. He was 9 for 15 from the field, 7 for 10 from the 3 point line. He was 6 for 6 from the free throw line, had 8 boards, 2 assists. Mitchell Robinson had a great game. He was a force in the paint. I'm happy that they were finding him in the paint as well. Mitchell Robinson played 23 minutes, had 17 points. He was 7 for 7 from the field, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, 11 boards, a change maker for sure. Mikal Bridges played 23 minutes as well, had 12 points. He was 0 for 5 from the 3 point line. He was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Jalen Brunson, 30 minutes, 17 points. He was 4 for 4 for his free throws, had 10 assists. Jalen Brunson didn't really need to go off in this game. And what I noticed in that game was how his awareness and that balance that we're always talking about for him to have. It seemed like he clicked that on and utilized that and was able to hit guys so that they can, do their thing and produce. And ultimately he was able to rest, which was nice to see as well. He was 6 for 13 from the field, 1 for 4 from the 3 point line. Pacome Daddier played 10 minutes, had 5 points. Mo Diawara played 12 minutes, has 6 points. Jeremy Sohan he played a lot more minutes than I thought. He played 17 minutes, had seven
yeah.
points, rebounds. He was 2 for 2 from the field. Huck Porty played 8 minutes, had six points. He was 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 3 boards. Landry Shamet played 13 minutes, had 8 points. He was 3 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from the 3 point line. Tyler Kolek played 12 minutes, had 8 points. He was 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from the 3 point line, had 2 assists. Jordan Clarkson, not sure why he didn't play a lot of minutes. I'm not sure what that was about, but he only had 9 minutes, 4 points, 2 for 6 from the field, and 5 rebounds. He did a lot of other little things, though, that made a difference. Jose Alvarado played 12 minutes. Um, he did have 2 points, 4 assists, and then Duke McBride played 13 minutes, had 6 points. He was 2 for 4 from the field and 2 for 4 from the 3 point line as well. And stat wise, the Knicks shot 52% from the field. They were 15 for 39 from the three at 38%. They were 25 for 28 from the free throw line. They out rebound Chicago 54 to 36. They had 30 assists, uh, three three blocks, excuse me. They had 11 steals to Chicago's 4, only had 8 turnovers. They beat them in points off turnovers category. They had 28 to Chicago's 9. The Knicks did have 19 fast break points. They outbeat them in points in the paint 60 to 48. And the largest lead was 47. And at one point, I think the lead, I remember you text me, it was 20 to 1.
Yeah.
So in the first quarter. So the Knicks, they pretty much outscored Chicago to every quarter, except for the third quarter. Chicago scored 31 to New York's 30. But otherwise, every player on the Knicks that played scored, which was another great thing as well. But what were your takeaways from that game?
Um, well, I want to start off with a quote that I read from Brown. And it's
Hmm.
like so interesting because why you wait to game to game what we at 78 to play this way? and I read this in the post. This is a quote from Brown post game. Brown said, "It's about making our opponents feel us, executing our defense the right way, every possession, not giving up any easy baskets in transition." So what were you doing in game 77? Like, that's like an asinine, nice quote, you know.
Mhm.
But so y'all had to wait for this game for everything to click. So I just thought that that was just like an interesting quote that he made because, like, eh, eh, quite frankly, and the Knicks are 19th in defensive rating. So and
Right.
they did like, and it's so like so late in the season, you know. So I just thought that that was an interesting quote. But yeah, they beat a subpar team, but we always say in the basketball world, a win is a win is a win, and that's how I equate it. Yes, yes, a lonely Bulls team, but unfortunately, it had to come to this, and it was just like overall, a nice game, no matter who they played. And Brown went deep. He went in his bag 14. He dug deep down the roster, and so that was good to see. And for those guys to get those minutes, that was great. But um, you know, it was like a complete game. Like you said, Brunson, he didn't have to do too much. Yeah, it was the Bulls, but okay. So now you got Atlanta, which is Atlanta's gonna be a tough one to crack, man. They're not gonna fold, and you're playing, them. So this is like a prerequisite for Atlanta. He played these guys, and you never know. It was just a complete game for them. It's so unfortunate had to take game 78 for it to come down to that. But man, I just wish they could have played like this the whole season long. So in sync. You really didn't have you really didn't see any flaws in the game, because they had
Right.
8 turnover, so it was just a complete game. And Mitch, man, like he had 15 at half,
Right.
before the half. So like, hello, Mitch, where were you at? Um, yeah, yeah, and then OG. Man, OG was like locked in. And when he's locked in like that, it's like, man, you can't stop him, man. And you know, and he's another one. He has to get involved early. He's like a cat. So these are the things that you're gonna need, in that post, like that activity, because
Right.
it's gonna be amped up come, after the regular season. So it's just nice for these guys to just, get that momentum going, and let's hope that it could carry over for Monday's game.
Yeah, you know, I think when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, one of the issues is it's about him getting fed the ball because he can't create off the dribble. So you have to give him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So guys aren't feeding Mitchell Robinson, which the Knicks are not. That's not a strong point for them to take advantage of feeding the big man in the paint. But it was nice to see that Brunson was doing that, and he didn't have to go and play ISO and work hard to score. But part of me feels like it was like that because Chicago is just not a good team defensively.
Oh,
So
for
the
sure.
Knicks had the spacing. Brunson wasn't getting double teamed and slowed down and clampered on. So, it makes a difference. But OG, we know he's capable of going off and having great games. I just think the key with OG and Mikel, as they say, the wing stop, is them being consistent. And that's where it's like, okay, well, can you do this consistently on a consistent basis? The funny thing is that I see with a lot of Knicks fans is that they are saying almost like Knicks fans, some Knicks fans feel like, you know, Mikal Bridges is going to show up in the playoffs again because a lot of Knicks fans hold on to the past. Listen, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying prove me right, and make me shut up rather. If not, I'm gonna continue to be proved correctly. But a lot of Knicks fans feel like, well, Mikal Bridges knows how to show up when the state on the stage when it matters, and he knows how to adjust and turn games around. But I don't know. I feel like that can be true, but we'll see. Because to me, the real test comes when they play the next two games against Atlanta and when they play Boston. Now these are teams that are gonna put the clamps down on the Knicks. They're gonna, slow Brunson down. They're gonna take Mikal Bridges out of the game, and I don't know. I just find it a little tough to be able to believe that Mikal Bridges is gonna be able to magically step up and be consistent every game. And I don't mean in just points. Like, yes, he made great stops. He did other little things, but sometimes it's just painful to watch because the guy can't knock down a three to save his life. And I think if anybody has a lot of pressure, not only does the team have a lot of pressure, Mike Brown has a lot of pressure, Mikal Bridges has a lot of pressure, because if he doesn't step up in the playoffs, he's out of here. He's out of here. And I don't think that he's going to stick around long enough. But was this win convincing for you, or do you feel like how we felt when the Knicks won the 7 games? And you felt like, well, it was against subpar teams. Of course they're gonna win these games. Because for me, I'm not gonna lie, I had the TV on multi-view, so I was watching South Carolina. Shout out to the Gamecocks for winning, and I was watching the Knicks game because I felt like I could relax because the Knicks were doing so well. I was kind of like, watching both games, but where's your confidence level with the Knicks moving forward and being able to carry over this energy over to Atlanta and Boston the next 2 games?
You know what? Because it was a subpar team, like I said, they got to get over that hump with Atlanta, and they got to get over the hump with Boston. Because like I said, the Hawks is on a tear. They won the last 18 of their 20 games out of 20.
Yeah, they
Like,
just won their last 4 too. So
yeah, they won their last 4. So like I said, this is not going to be an easy win. Excuse me. And it was just good just to see these guys. They played. They didn't play a ton of minutes. So they should be, I don't want to say well rested, because a switch could, get, flicked on with the Hawks, and they get out into this fast start. Um, you know, as much as I'm a diehard, I never bet against my Knicks, but I would have to see them, get this Atlanta Hawks game out the way, and Boston. And then, I was like, okay, the Knicks have, they're back in sync. Like they gel, like, that missing piece is there. So if they could just emulate, this game, how they got to get out into a fair start, because we know them slow starts don't do them no justice. Um, so again, I'm still, I would have to see them, and definitely get this Atlanta Hawks game out the way with a win. And I'm like, okay, now they're ready for Boston, because Boston's another one that's on a tear. So like these teams are ascending, and the Knicks are just like right there.
yeah,
It's like they seem to plateau. So I love to bet with them and not against them, and I'm not betting against them, but I don't want to just speak. But I'm confident, because they have to, again, get out to a fair start, because even Josh Hart has been harping on that about these slow starts. Okay, so if y'all know what's your Achilles heel, then why don't you fix it? Because it is fixable. It's not like it's not. This is a problem that that's in the Knicks' hands. And don't let the team dictate the tempo. So
yeah. I think the Knicks, a key point was that they won yesterday's game without Carl Anthony Towns, who was out with elbow injury. Um, and they brought in the B squad and was able to handle business with Brunson on the bench. But I agree 100%. I think that the Knicks do need to win the Atlanta game and they need to win the Boston game because one, not even just to be in sync, but also you want to finish off the regular season strong. And even if it takes these last four games for them to figure out how to finish off the season strong, okay, that's what you want to do. They need to reset and relock back in, and they have to get back aligned because the Knicks don't seem they seem to have been a little bit like up and down. Sure, they have done played really well on at home this season compared to last year, but I just think that they have to get back aligned with each other and get back to playing good basketball. And we've only seen that in patches this season. It hasn't
Yeah.
been on a consistent basis. There's a few games where the Knicks played fantastic, and Chicago was one of those games. So again, I am a firm believer in it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think to a degree, you can't really apply that in the playoffs because it is about how you start in the playoffs. You don't want to get down 0-2 in a series because now you have to crawl back out of that. So you want to set, your statement off correctly. But
Set the
I
tone.
yeah, set the tone early. So I do want to see the Knicks take advantage and close off the regular season strong, but also show that okay, they're back in sync with each other against Atlanta because the defense is going to be important. The offense is going to be important. Getting defensive stops is going to be important. Limiting the turnovers is going to be important. Getting off to a quick start, which they were able to do yesterday, was important.
Hmm.
Finishing off strong is going to be important as well. Getting your bigs the ball, Mitchell Robinson and Carl Anthony Towns, you got to feed them the ball. You got to get them the ball, and that's why for the whole season, I've been saying this even the last 2 years. Brunson still hasn't figured out that balance yet of being a facilitator and then um, scoring and putting the team on his back when needed. And it's funny because if you look at the Chicago game, somehow, even though Brunson was in the game, Brunson fell back, but it wasn't in a bad regard. Like I think he read the game really well and realized I don't need to go
Yeah.
off in this game. And the Knicks played well how they did against Memphis. There was that fluid offense. They were passing the ball, guys were cutting and moving. They looked comfortable playing Chicago. How do the Knicks continue to play like that with Brunson on the floor? Because apparently, when Brunson has the ball, the offense can become a bit stagnant. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I saying you can't win games without Brunson. You're going to need Brunson. But just like you're going to need Karl Anthony Towns, you're going to need Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. But yesterday's game showed that, and there was another game the Knicks played too where Brunson was able to do that. But Brunson was a facilitator. He made key buckets when needed, but he was able to dish, set guys up, and he fell back and just played a limited role yesterday. And then he was able to rest at the end of the game, which was good to see. But how do the Knicks carry that over? Because when you watch the Knicks play, when Tyler Kolek and Alvarado's playing a point, the offense seems to move a lot more free and fluid. And it seems like guys like Mikal seems a lot more engaged and confident and comfortable playing when you have a Kolek running the point. So how do the Knicks continue to play like that when you have Brunson running the ball? How can the offense still move freely like that?
Well, I think like it's always a game by game, decision. I think he felt he didn't have to because it was the Bulls.
Right.
Now, probably if the Bulls would have got out into this run, he would have probably kicked it up a notch. So it's always like it's a game by game and team by team, like because of course each team is different. Now, will we see a different Brunson come Monday? I think we probably will because it's Atlanta. So, but will we see all those guys playing Monday? No, I don't think he's going to go 14 deep. Who knows? Maybe Cole may not even get on the floor.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty much it's a team by team basis, and I think Brunson didn't have to be like this guy where, oh, I'm gonna take over, I'm gonna fall back. You guys got it. Um, so that's not gonna change. I think it was just so happened because it was the Bulls. Now when they play Boston, I think Brunson's going to turn it up a notch because it's Boston. And then maybe not, because they don't clinch their 50th win. Yeah, they would like to surpass last season, but I think they're in all likely secured at the third spot. So will he go hard come Monday and then Boston? Who knows? So it's a game by game basis for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think that it depends on the matchup in the game. And again, I just think that that's something that Brunson still has to work on,
Yeah.
being able to. I don't even think that it necessarily is going to take him being able to fall back, but to not have to be able to facilitate and pass off the ball, get guys involved, and I don't know. I think it's also the style and the way Brunson plays. Whereas when you watch Tyler Kolek or you watch Jose Alvarado, they both can score, but they're looking to drive and kick. Whereas Brunson's looking
Yeah.
to drive and score.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difference in the way their playing styles are.
Oh, for
And not to
sure.
say Brunson doesn't drive and kick at times, but it's not very highly that he's going to do that. He's going to drive and score. And I just still think that this team has an issue of we don't have enough guys who on this current roster who can, and this is honestly, this has been an issue with this Knicks team where we don't have enough of this. And I think that this is something they need to address because it's a weak point for this team. The Knicks don't have enough players who can get the ball when they have the ball, either create space, crossover, and get to the basket and score. And the only other guy who I really see that can do that, I'll say two. And the first one I'll say is Jordan Clarkson, and the second one is OG Anunoby, who can
Mm.
create a little space so they can get the three off or they can drive to the basket and get past their guy. Mikal Bridges can't do that. And this is not a pick on Mikel's segment, but it's true. He can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
He's the
true.
catch and shoot. Same thing with Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride has a nice handle and he has speed, but a lot of times, sometimes that dribbling is a little too much. And then depending on who's defending Deuce, now he kind of looks like a Nate Robinson, and he's trying to get out of a traffic jam, and then he figures it out, but sometimes it's just too much dribbling. So when you get to the playoffs, my thing is, or not even that, when you get against Atlanta and you get against Boston, the problem is, and I noticed this also, it wasn't the Memphis game. It's a few games I've noticed this where sometimes Mitchell Robinson and Cat are in the way. So if Brunson has the ball and he's able to kind of get his man off of him and then he's able to kind of get to the basket, they'll set that slight screen, right, to give him space. But now both of the defenders are like there as walls, and Cat or Mitch is kind of like their back is to him, and they can see it and they're trying to get out the way. And I'm like, get out the way, you're in the way. And I know it's not intentionally, but it's their timing, and they don't have the quick feet to get out the way. And when you watch the defense play against the Knicks, they'll put a double team on Brunson. Brunson, a lot of times, what he's great at doing is he doesn't stop his dribble early. There's been a few times where he'll stop his dribble, but he's patient and he's able to get off the right pass. I think he is going to have to watch, particularly this season. We've seen Brunson get a little sloppy with the ball, where he's had the ball and it's dribbled off the back of his foot. He's gotten pickpocketed a good amount of times this season as well. Um,
Yeah.
but when you watch the offense sometimes, here's my issue with that. The double team is going to come regardless, no matter who we're facing. But my issue with this team is Okay, he passes it off. Let's just say he gives it to OG. Now, OG sometimes the defender could stop OG really well. So OG can be very limited to what he can do. So he'll kick the ball out, and now maybe Mikel has it. Mikel
Mm-hmm.
with the score. If he's scoring this out of, I have to do it because the shot clock's going down to 3 seconds, 2 seconds. I got to put the ball up. So you don't really see anyone taking the basket, the ball to the hole, and then Carl Anthony Towns doesn't even get a touch. So this is a problem that we have on this offense here, and I'm wondering how do you get Cat more involved early. Now you can't get him involved in the third quarter because now
Yeah.
his defender got so comfortable. He ain't getting the ball. I can do whatever I need to do. So that's an issue that these guys have, and Brown hasn't figured out how to. I don't. Again, and we talked about this where Brown came in and changed the offense, which to me some of the offense looks a bit of like a copy and paste of what Tom Thibodeau had them doing, just on
Copy
a
and paste.
lesser, right, a lower value end of it. But my thing is when you move into these next two games against Atlanta and Boston, I don't even want to go into the playoffs just yet because I think we should try to address these things now. And it's not going to be perfected, but where the adjustment's going to be made. So when the defense is putting the clamps as, and I would say the team who has done this to perfection is Detroit. They have Bickerstaff has figured out how to slow the Knicks down to a half court offense, a half court defense. And it's not just even a double team on Brunson. Their recovery is good, Detroit. So even those other four guys that may look to the eye test like, oh, they're open, they're not because Detroit's players are there and they're like, no, I'm reading what Brunson's gonna do. So now maybe sometimes he has to throw a wild half court pass across the floor. But my thing is, how do the Knicks respond when that type of defense is gonna be on them? And contrary to that, who the hell is gonna stop Jason Tatum? Because again, I don't like to stay
Yeah.
stuck in the past. I understand what the Knicks did last year. I understand what Mikal Bridges did last year, but who's stopping Brown and Tatum and Pritchard, White? Who's
And
stopping them? Let's
and
let's
and it's
call
and
a
it's
spade a spade.
and it's doable because we saw what Kaminga did for Brown. So that's the type of defense that the Knicks are gonna have to exert. When it comes to a player like that, you definitely have to slow him down. Um, the both of them really, but now you got to figure it out. Well, Brown just gave us a quote, so he needs to use that same tactic, with Boston and ATL. Definitely, you can't, get to them slow, get out to them slow starts. So
Mhm.
you definitely got to, amp up that defensive intensity, and not slack off because you know what they're capable of doing. These are like big, forwards and guard slash forwards. These guys, like, so how do again, like, how do you stop them? Whose defensive assignment will I be? We know it's gonna be OG, but and Mikel, but to what degree will they be able to, stop him? And if you could contain them, because you're not gonna you could stop them to a certain degree, but if you could contain, that outburst, these guys, living out in the perimeter, and going for those threes, that I'm telling you, that's gonna be a tough assignment, man. Tatum hasn't missed a beat. He's in full
At
form.
all.
He's in full form, and he's gonna have an axe to grind. You
Right.
know, so that's a $1 million question, and we'll see Thursday.
Yeah, I think, I know, and I keep saying this, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I think when you enter the playoffs, the Knicks are going to have to go deep in their rotation. relying heavily on the starters, I don't think that that's going to be the answer, as I don't think the Knicks have enough to rely solely on 5 to maybe 7 guys. I don't think that that's going to
Oh,
be
for sure.
enough for this team to battle it out and get past 3 rounds to get to the finals. So I really think that the Knicks are going to have to. Mike Brown is going to have to go deep into the rotation to get more guys playing in the game. And if honestly, I think you have to go to, you know, I would say bring it to around 8, 9, really like 9. You know,
Surprisingly, I don't mean to cut you. Surprisingly, Sohan played the five yesterday because Cat was out. Now, will that work? Come Boston or and not maybe because Cat was out. He went with Sohan as well. So, you know, it worked to a certain degree. So let's see how he utilized him. Or will he utilize him? You know.
but that's what I'm saying. I think it would be an Achilles heel to not utilize Clarkson, Sohan, Mo Diawara, and Tyler Kolek in the playoffs. You would be
Yeah.
doing the team a disservice to not play those guys in the playoffs. Because
Yeah.
if the Knicks want to go far, you got to take a page out of Rick Carlisle and Indiana Pacers last year and do what they did.
Go deep. Yep.
You have to go deep. That's the only way this team is going to get far. You can't make it heavy the top 5 guys, and then maybe you add in Brit not Bridges, you add in McBride, you add in Shamit. That's not enough. Because my thing is, what if hypothetically one of those starters or Shamit or McBride is having an off night in one of those rounds? So you're gonna keep those other guys heating up the bench when you can put them in and they can bring you that spark off the bench, but you can't. And not only that, a lot of those guys I'm talking about that you need to go deep and put them in the game, they could do a lot of the other little things. They're willing to dive on the floor. And it's not to say that Brunson and Josh Hart, OG, they're not willing to dive on the floor, you know, and go after loose balls and the hustle plays. But why have them exert all of this energy when the problem is by the time they get to round 3, they have no more left in the tank to give? Or now injuries arise because you're relying on such a shorter rotation to play in the playoffs. I don't think that that's going to work for this particular roster.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me you want Mikal Bridges chasing around Jason Tatum or Brown the whole series? And again, he was able to do it last year. I'm just saying, I'm just using his as an example. I'm not saying he's not capable of, but okay, now you get past Boston or whoever, but now you get to the next round, they're tired. And I'm not saying this, you use excuses. You're professionals, you're getting paid a lot of money. Do you want it or not? But
Yeah.
I just think that if the Knicks want to go far, the rotation has to be expanded to more than 6, 7 guys. It's not gonna work out if you just keep the rotation to, those few guys. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like Hart said, um, he said it was more aggressive ball movement. Okay, then carry that over for Atlanta, Boston, and the last 4 games, quite frankly. So, and then like you saw that cohesion there, carry that over. So there was so many positives that you saw with Chicago. Well, let's carry that over to close out the season, and in that way, that let that momentum carry you over into the playoffs because you're gonna need it. Now, was it because Brown went deep in the rotation? Maybe that did play a factor. So look at all those minutes he played. So give these guys a shot because, like you say, you got to take a page out of Carlisle book and mirror the other coach. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It worked. And then with that, you letting the team now react to the to use guys to the Knicks because now they gotta adjust because now different bodies out there. So that's why like playing multiple players, like now the opponent has to react to your style of play because they wasn't expecting it. So I think that's a key for them to see like different bodies. Because we know like Shamit, he can fight over screens, but yet he plays that defense. Now the team's like, okay, now we got to adjust. So it just makes you, wonder like what would this playoff look like, going forward.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm gonna have a magnifying glass on Mike Brown because I'm wondering what is his agenda, his end agenda here? What is his playoff agenda? Like I said before, what is he trying to accomplish with this team? So I'm just really curious what is the adjustments that he's gonna make within a rotation, the schematics, and also like, the basics, like things like limiting the turnovers. Shout out to Kareem Grant. He said, I see a lot of sloppy passing too. Yeah, limiting the turnovers, the making better non-telegraph passes as well, and crisp passes at that. And then, being aggressive on the boards, grabbing rebounds as well, because that's another thing that, sometimes I don't know, the Knicks, I know that they lack length as you always draw as a pain point for this team, but sometimes it just looks like the Knicks just be relying on Mitch or Cat to get the boards all the time. I want to see everybody crashing the boards and boxing out. Be aggressive and you know, but also like, okay, prime example, these next two games. If the Knicks are off, one of the things that really kills me with this Knicks team is that if they're off and shots are not going down, I get that you have to encourage shooters to continue to shoot. However, if you're not knocking them down, at what point does Brown say, hey, let's go to this? I need y'all to start attacking the basket. And I say this a lot as well because you don't see that. The Knicks will continue to keep shooting and just hitting bricks. So, I want to see what changes are going to be made, and I guess we'll see. I don't know.
You know what I also want to see? Can Cat and Brunson get back in sync? Like, and I get it. Mitch and Cat is totally different players. Their games is different, but it's so like, because Mitch is like, that lob type of player, where you could just throw him a lob, and I get that's not Cat style. So again, then now adjust to Cat style. You know what I'm saying? Because, let's face it, as much as people, harp on, Cat about, he's a key part of that rotation. Just by him, the spacing that he offers on while he's on that floor, you know, that's key for the Knicks. So like, what will that adjustment look like? With Cat and Brunson, can they get back on the same page? Because they don't seem like they are in sync.
That's what
You
I was
know,
going to say. They don't really seem like
um,
they've been on the same page at all this season.
yeah, like his space and that instant offense that he offers, like you miss that, so they have to get back in sync. Otherwise, it's gonna be a tough man a series going forward. So that I would definitely love to see what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, shout out to Kareem Grant. He said, I just believe Cat and Brunson don't match up well. They
They
can't even
don't.
execute a simple pick and roll. Yeah, and that was
Yep.
something that when Cat came here, I kept saying in a lot of our shows, like, oh, I want to see the pick and roll, pick and roll. And I don't know if I know there are players, two-man players that do that, but you don't really see that a lot in today's game anyway. It's too much Everybody trying to showboat and trying to go off and show their handles and what they could do beyond the arc.
Yeah.
A lot of a lot of players and a lot of teams move away from the basics. Everybody wants to try to show they could shoot from this far length. And that's all well and good, but like what happened to the basics? And this is why I go back to putting the blame on the coach because I blame Thibodeau when he was here and I blame Brown because you're allowing these things to not happen. If you want something as a coach, you would say, yo, that's not what I want. When you come down, I need you to get him the ball. Figure out a way to get him the ball. And we've been seeing it lately where Cat has been getting the ball, but I just don't see that. And then it makes me wonder, okay, hypothetically, if the Knicks got in another player, let's just say like they got in Giannis, is Brunson gonna run the pick and roll and exploit him as well? You know what I mean? So sometimes it just makes you wonder if is it part of it? I'm sure it is Brunson, and the other part of it is Cat. I don't think Cat is aggressive enough in asking for the ball and showing his dominant presence down in the paint and showing that yo, get me the ball and putting his hand out. And I don't see that. And you know when he does get the ball, I think one of the things that Cat has to be very mindful of is he has to watch how he's driving to that basket. You know, with the whole like elbows flaring and getting these fouls. You don't need to get a flagrant foul, get out of the game because you drive into the basket all wild. And then he kills me when he looks at the ref. But I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, a big part of it is on Brunson for sure, because I think even if it wasn't Cat as our center, and I think it was someone else, I think that Brunson would still be falling into the same issue with the pick and roll. And then the other part of it is on Cat. I don't think he's aggressive enough in calling for the ball. And then the other part of it is on Mike Brown
Yep.
because you allowed this season to go on and you didn't even have them executing that pick and roll throughout.
Yes.
So, you know, and this is why I said when the Knicks clean up house at the end of the season, it can't just be in players. It has to be, you got to dig deeper. It has to go into the coaching staff as well. It has to go beyond Mike Brown because you got to, when you look at the assistant coaches, it'll be so many coaches sitting behind the Knicks bench. And it's like, well, what are you all doing back there? You know, because we're seeing the same thing. And I understand you have some coaches who are stubborn and stuck in their own ways and they don't really want to, but it has to be some type of middle ground. Like if the end goal is for us to win a championship, you know, it has to be. So I don't know. I just think that this team, there's a lot that they have to figure out. There's a lot that they have to get better aligned with and locked in with each other with. So I don't know, but that is a great point. We haven't seen the pick and roll, and that was even last year. You know, this was an issue. So the Knicks also are not going to be successful in the playoffs if it's very high ISO basketball being played. You're not going to get far.
Yeah.
Because it's the game is going to slow down, and now you're giving the defense time to figure out what's going on because now they could just camp out next to Wingstop. They could camp out next to Shamit and Cat or Mitch because now it's just like okay, we just got to watch Brunson. But teams are not going to do that. They're not going to have one guy on Brunson. They're going to put two guys on Brunson. So who's going to step up and be aggressive and score? You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. But the Knicks do have their last four games coming up. They play Monday against Atlanta. Then they play Thursday against Boston. Then Friday against Toronto. And then Sunday versus Charlotte. What are your
Yeah.
predictions?
Um those last three games they close out at home, which is great. You know, that's those are gonna definitely be nice games to check out. Uh I'm still gonna rock with my Knicks, and you know what? Let me stop being delusional, and I'm gonna go for 3-1, and I should do a 2-2 because I know those first two is gonna give the Knicks a fit, and I
Yeah.
know they are. but I'm still gonna go 3-1. And with that, I think Atlanta's gonna give them the most fit. The Knicks are a better matchup with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Atlanta's going to give them, because they are ascendant. They did that trade, and they got it in sync. And they found their mojo, if you want to say so. I'm going to go 3-1. And yeah, leave it like that.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I'm gonna go 2-2.
Uh,
I think the Knicks, I'm comfortable with them winning against Toronto. Charlotte, I'm looking for them to get a revenge game and beat them. And then Boston and Atlanta could be trap games for the Knicks. I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-2. I would love 3-1, but I'm gonna go 2-2, and I want the Knicks to prove me wrong and either go 4-0 or 3-1. But
hey,
yeah, I'm a little like, because I don't know, Atlanta, they've been playing really well. Boston's been playing well. Toronto, but Charlotte has been playing well as well.
yeah, that's another team. Yeah, that's
So,
ascendant. Yeah, yep.
the Knicks have to figure out how to beat these teams and also how to guard the perimeter because, LaMelo is so comfortable shooting that three-pointer. He could do all that razzle dazzle and dribbling in between his legs because he's so confident in making that shot from wherever, and he can make it. You
Yeah,
know,
he's a tall guard too, as well.
right. So, my biggest things with these next four games is the defense. We know what the Knicks can do on offense, but it's the defense for me and what the Knicks are going to do
Hmm.
defensively to get those stops and then capitalize on scoring once you get a stop. I'm also looking at minutes distribution and who Mike Brown is going to be playing in these games. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily looking for a lineup change, but I do think that those guys who I mentioned need to be a part of the extended rotation in the playoffs. I would like to see them playing, decent minutes in these next four games. So yeah, I got them 2-2. That's
Fair enough. Yeah.
that's what it is for me. So we'll see. And yeah, yeah, the Knicks don't play again until Thursday, right?
Thank you, nostalgic Nick. I'm gonna put this up on the board. I like what he said. I truly appreciate that. Salute. I had to brag, right?
They don't play till Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then those games, how they're spread it out. It's like, you know, will that be a detriment to them, or will it help them to close out the season? Sometimes I think they play better with back to backs. I don't know. They seem to, sometime, not all the time, but let's see if that can go in their favor because they're spread it out. Like they play Monday, then they got some rest in between. Now they can get some practice in, so they play again Thursday, and now they have that back to back on Friday. So that, let's see if that helps them.
And I hope that the coaching staff,
No, it's itching.
they're watching film and figuring out and watching what these other teams are doing because you got to figure out how to stop
Oh,
these
wow.
teams, um, and you know be able to capitalize on the W. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
that is all for me today. Anything else from you before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, I'm just excited. I would definitely like to see the Knicks close out the season on a positive. And see if they can surpass last season. Which, if they don't, still secure, that third. I think they're locked in. 'Cause I think with Cleveland's like 2 games behind.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I'm just, I'm going 3-1. That's my prediction.
yeah. The third seed is locked up for the Knicks, so they do have that. Um, but yeah, well, I did read where Tracy McGrady is mentoring Carl Anthony Towns.
How so?
Um, I guess I don't know. I guess ever since after that
Oh,
NBC,
Tracy McGrady. Oh, girl, I'm not even gonna tell you who I was thinking about. Oh,
you
that's
figure
nice.
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, girl, please. No, I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
I figured
I
that's
was
who
like,
you
how
thought.
so?
I was
Oh
like,
man.
who you thinking I'm talking about? Tracy McGrady. McGrady. Like,
Oh, that's nice. Wow.
yeah, so that's good. I think he needs that. He needs that mental toughness that Shaq has been asking him to put to the forefront. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I
And then
like that.
I think also too one of the things that we're gonna have to talk about in the off season is should the Knicks offer Karl Anthony Towns a $260 million extension?
Yeah,
So
we'll talk about that
yeah,
because
I
I,
think we
I
got
have
to
the
see
answer
how
already. So
I think that's we got to see how Carl plays, and I don't know. I don't even think it's just based on off of the playoffs, but I think that is something a bigger question that we need to discuss and see. Is it should the Knicks give him that extension, that much money for I don't know, because then it kind of boils down to well, you're gonna have to change the coach, and then the other part of it falls on Cat, and then the other part of it falls on Brunson. So it's a three-way thing.
hmm
So yeah, but shout out to the chat for joining us. Shout out to the silent watchers as well. We appreciate you guys. Hit them up, NYNJ.
salute.
Salute to you. Kareem Grant, 4723. Salute to you, Kareem. Hopeful as well. Walter White, 820. Salute to you. Nostalgic Nick, 7. Salute to you. Always showing love and joining us in our lives. We appreciate you as well. And shout out to the replay gang. And those of you who are new here, salute to you as well. If you guys are new here, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button too, so that way YouTube can put our video out in the algorithm and share the show and let people know about us. So we appreciate you guys. I think we're a little shy away from 500 subscribers. So I think we're like 5 away. So we're getting there. The channel is growing. We're also follow us because we're also on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're here on YouTube. So we're gonna expand onto Instagram as well. So yeah, shout out to everybody. We hope you guys have a great weekend. And I'm still riding with South Carolina to win it all for the women's. And then I'm looking for the Knicks to get a win versus both. Actually, to finish strong the last 4 games. So and then yeah, let us know in the comments who would you like to see the Knicks play in the first round as well. I'm curious. So I haven't really thought about that until they finish the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So shout out to everybody. And we'll see you guys. We'll do a recap after, I believe on Tuesday after the ATL game. I'm sure there's gonna be lots to talk about. So until next time, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see.